All right, good evening. At this time, I will call the Planning Commission meeting of June 5th, 2024 to order. It is 6 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Vice Chair Malakoff?
Present.
Chair Daley?
Present?
Commissioner Lee?
Present.
Let the record show Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner Lowe are absent.
Thank you so much. I'd like to invite everyone everyone on the dais and in the audience to please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Next item is confirmation of the agenda, and I understand that we're going to reorder the agenda to accommodate the interest from the public on the public hearing items. Is that correct?
That is correct. We will be moving the public hearing items before the non-public.
Great. Okay, thank you. In that case, let's continue on to public comments. The public is invited to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, please wait to be recognized under that item. Except for special circumstances, the Brown Act prohibits the Planning Commission or staff from responding or taking action on any comments made by the public unless it pertains to an item on the agenda. All speakers should give their name and city of residence. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to be heard on a matter that is not on the agenda tonight?
It appears we have no members of the audience wishing to speak on a non-agendized item.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none, I will close the public comment section and move on to the approval of the minutes. Are there any requests to speak on this matter from the public?
We have no audience members wishing to speak.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion regarding the minutes? No? All right. Do you have...
Let the record show a motion was made by Vice Chair Malakoff and seconded by Commissioner Lee. Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, in our new order, we're going to be moving on to public hearing item 4A, tentative track map number 37755.
Okay. Good evening, Chair Daley, Vice Chair Malakoff, and Commissioner Lee. My name is Dawn Camps. I'm Associate Planner here at the City. I'll be presenting tentative track map 37755 for your consideration. The applicant for this project is Hunter Simmons, representing Desert Housing Ventures. Tentative track map 37755 is part of a residential development project known as Mountain View Estates. The tentative track map, which was previously approved by the Planning Commission, would subdivide the 27-acre lot into 110 single-family residences, as well as common area lots for recreational amenities, water retention, and private streets. As shown on the vicinity map here, the proposed subdivision is located north of Ramon Road, south of McCallum Way, and east of Numa Drive. The site is surrounded by residential development, including the Capnilly development on the east. Some background on the project. In 2020, the tentative track map 37755 and planned unit development number 19001 were approved In 2022, a one-year time extension was granted for both the tentative tract map and the PUD. In 2023, the PUD was amended and reapproved as PUD number 19001A, and this amended PUD will be valid until July of 2025. A final tract map was not timely filed, and so prior to the expiration of the tentative tract map, and so it is being refiled because it expired in September of 2023. The refiling was submitted on March of 2024. It's the item before you today, and it does not propose any changes from the originally approved tentative tract map. The conditions of approval have been substantially maintained from the original approval, with the exception of a couple changes that I'll be addressing in this presentation. The Architectural Review Committee did not review the refiling of the tentative tract map because it was reviewed along with the PUD. So concurrent with the tentative tract map before you, the city has initiated a general plan amendment. This general plan amendment is required because the underlying land use designation was changed along with the 2040 general plan update, which was approved in 2021. So as shown on the image on the left, when the PUD and tentative tract maps were originally approved, the entire site was designated as low-density residential. However, with the general plan update, a approximately 3.4 acre portion along the Ramon Road frontage was changed to community or neighborhood commercial. And because the planning entitlements were already approved for the tentative tract map and the PUD, this resulted in an inconsistency with the general plan. It's also worth noting that this project is site number 11 in the housing element land inventory. This inventory provides a list of parcels that are available to meet the city's regional housing needs allocation. Site number 11, which is comprised of the 4 project parcels, has the potential, according to the housing element, to be developed for up to 120 residential units. So with the change of land use designation along that 3.4 acre parcel, there's an inconsistency with the housing element. It is also worth noting that according to the zoning ordinance map, the entire site is zoned for R1, so there's also an inconsistency between the general plan and the zoning ordinance map. Therefore, the city has initiated this general plan amendment, and to ensure that the final tract is consistent with the general plan, a condition of approval has been added to the tentative tract map, which will require that the City Council approve the general plan amendment prior to the approval of the final tract. So tentative tract map, as I stated, does not propose any changes from the originally approved tentative tract map or the PUD. The map proposes to subdivide the 27-acre site into 110 single-family lots and 27 lettered lots, which will be held in common for private streets, recreational amenities, water retention, and landscaping. Primary access to the development will be provided via a gated entry off Ramon Road through Via Campanelli, which is a shared access with the adjacent Campanelli community. And a secondary gated entry will be provided on the north of the site from Santoro Drive, which will remain a public street. The residential lots will range from 5,500 square feet to 8,500 square feet, and 65,000 square feet of common open space will be provided, including approximately 43,500 square feet of recreation and retention area near Ramon Road, as well as an approximately 21,000 square foot recreation area towards the gate at Santoro Drive. The project will adhere to the R1 zoning district standards and will conform to the previously approved planned unit development standards. This includes the previously approved modern Spanish and transitional Spanish architecture, as well as the provision of attached accessory dwelling units on each unit. So here is the tentative track map. This is the southern portion of it. A 36-foot wide main street with parking on one side will be provided, which will run from north to south within the gated portion of the project. 5 28-foot wide streets will branch from this main street, some of which will be connected via walkable paseos, which will also be used for fire emergency access. Sidewalks will be provided at the main entries along the main street and near the amenities, and all common amenities and private streets will be maintained and managed through a homeowners association. This is the northern component of the tract. Santoro Drive will remain a public street, and it will be improved to full width on the east side, and a new curb, gutter, and sidewalks will be provided along the frontage of the new units. Since the distribution of tonight's agenda and the staff report, an additional change was made to the conditions of approval, specifically the engineering conditions. So John Corella, the Director of Engineering and Public Works, will introduce this revised condition.
All right, so you've read the conditions of approval. You always do a good job doing that, planning commissioners. The applicant had some challenges with the fact that they're kind of held hostage in getting things done along Ramon Road. One, and mainly, is the undergrounding of the power lines on Ramon Road. So we've been working with the applicant to basically defer those till they get to unit 40 and then, or unit 30, and then subsequent to that, they would have from unit 30 to 45 to be under construction. So it's all kind of geared, what I'm going to read in on the conditions of approval is to allow them from the time of this planning commission, if it's deemed approved, for them to start the engineering working with SCE. SCE is the limiting factor. We ourselves are working with Project SCE, and their timelines are way out there. We obviously want to encourage the expedient development of this development, not have it held hostage with that, and in the fact that it's such a high cost that they can't keep moving along and not just get it done and throw out those extremely expensive funds to get that done and not have anything coming in return. So this is pretty common in a lot of these bigger developments. We did some agreements like this with Amazon in the frontage paving along Date Palm Drive. We allowed them deferrals on that because of the timing and the length and everything on it. So how this reads is exactly on the screen. You see it on your screens there. So the applicant this would be under section 4.25. It could have been in its own area or whatever, but so to limit the amount of editing we did here, it's really appropriate under where we asked for the undergrounding per the municipal code of the transmission lines out in the street there. So we're adding a double I under 42, under I, which will remain the same, double I. The applicant may defer the start of construction of the required Ramon Road frontage improvements for 30 cumulative lots within the TTM. Cumulative meaning they can put 30 lots anywhere in their development. We don't know how they're going to phase or if they have island phasing or whatever, but it's 30 lots. These improvements may include but not limited to the undergrounding of the overhead lines, bus turnout, streetlights along the tentative track maps, Ramon Road frontage, provided the following conditions are met. One of the reasons not only deferring the overhead lines, the bus turnout, and the streetlights is anything done prior to the undergrounding is going to get destroyed anyway when they put the conduits in for SCE to ultimately pull their conductors through there and take down the existing poles. So you have on that 1A, or after that, the city will review and provide an acknowledgement of the request if said request provides for the orderly expansion of the TTM. Okay, sorry, I skipped ahead on 1. Subsequent to the approval of the TTM, the applicant shall provide a written request which will include the specific required frontage improvement items requested to be deferred as required within these conditions of approval. The city will review and provide an acknowledgement of the request if said request provides for the orderly expansion of the TTM. The orderly expansion is defined as the orderly expansion of the TTM will include any emergency or required access points, driveways for emergency responders. I know there's a driveway off of Dayton Palm that's a secondary emergency access. Required maintenance driveways or anything that's for required maintenance, and/or stormwater facilities, which they have a long retention basin that will take some water in off of Ramon Road, along Ramon Road. This infrastructure may be temporary to provide the needed function to be made permanent once the final infrastructure is complete. So in the interim, we would accept something that's adequate, that's temporary, obviously not impeding the normal and smooth flow of traffic. But once everything's done on Ramon Road, they would complete that infrastructure in finality. Second is after the approval of the tentative tract map and prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for the tentative tract map's 31st lot, the applicant must continually demonstrate and advise the city that all planning, design, cost, and preparation for the construction of the permanent remote road frontage improvements are underway in a state that allow the applicant to initiate construction immediately after the issuance of the TTM's 31st lot certificate of occupancy. So if you notice, after the approval of the tenant tract map, that could happen tonight. We're projecting it'll happen. So from this point all the way to when they're getting their 31st unit, we want to see diligent action on the developer applicant's part, that they're progressing through the SCE approvals, the plans, the design, going through our engineering department, getting plan checks done and everything, so that when they do get to that 31st unit, they can't basically say, oh, now we're starting with the plans. No, it's this way. Now, if SCE delays them by that time, then we're going to work with them on that leeway, but we're making sure they're making progress on that. And then the next item would be the applicant be allowed to secure 15 additional tentative tract map lots, certificate of occupancies during the construction of the deferred Ramon Road frontage improvements. No certificate of occupancies will be approved past the 45th certificate of occupancy until all improvements are complete and accepted by the city. So what that does, it provides the city a checkpoint that basically says, okay, we're giving you till 30 to have got everything done. Okay, now you're at 30. We don't want to stop you from selling houses and progressing. You're under construction, and we'll give you till the 45th unit. Now, obviously, if there's things not in their control and they get to 45 and they're just really gangbusters selling lots and units, then we'd work with them on another checkpoint and say, okay, we're progressing, because they'll be pretty committed by then. But it's all secured by, the next paragraph is the deferred Ramon Road improvements would be secured with separate public works construction completion agreement with applicable securities or included in the tentative tract maps overall required subdivision improvement agreements with applicable securities as such as cited within these conditions of approval. So for every tract, you're securing improvement agreements that they will get things done, especially on the public roadways, because we don't want a developer starting on a roadway and stopping. We want some security that says we can go in there if they don't perform, call their bonds, call their cash, whatever they're putting up, and go there and complete it ourselves so that we can provide for the orderly expansion of the roadway and the safe travel of motorists. Interior to the track, when they produce their final map, when they have their final map, they technically can sell legal lots. We will bond that too, because if you sell a lot in the middle of the track, you got to be able to demonstrate and have securities, the city, that whoever purchases that lot, gets a house, will have the ability to get out and the roadways will be built. So it's pretty normal. This was a kind of a hinge point for the developer. Both staff, development services and the engineering department, public works, were pretty satisfied. This is a good compromise to allow both parties to, we feel safe, we're going to get what we need to in the end, but it allows the developer to actually develop and progress through the project without having an outside third party, someone like SCE, being the ones holding them up. Thank you.
So I'll wrap up. In terms of environmental review, a CEQA mitigated negative declaration was adopted for the tentative track map and PUD in 2020. Since the approval of the mitigated negative declaration, there have been no substantial changes to the overall project, and no new information of substantial importance has been identified. Therefore, in accordance with CEQA Guidelines Section 15162, staff have determined that no additional environmental action is needed. Also, the project was noticed in accordance with the city's municipal code. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission find that in accordance with CEQA Guidelines Section 15162, no additional CEQA review is required for this project, as there is no substantial evidence on the record that this project would require major revisions to the mitigated negative declaration due to the involvement of new significant environmental effects or a substantial increase in the severity of previously identified significant effects, and approve the tentative track map number 37755, subject to attached conditions of approval and based on the findings contained in the staff report. Thank you for your consideration, and I believe the applicant is here to answer any questions as well.
And if you do propose to move this forward, make sure you add in, if you agree, the insertion that we have in 4.25.
25
I read it
subsection
in.
2.
4.25, yeah, double I, 2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for staff, Vice Chair?
Yes. Can you go back to the slide on the upper part of the subdivision?
Yep.
Where Lot N was?
This one?
So what exactly is going to be on Lot N? I saw what the others would be used for, and it wasn't clear to me.
Yes. One moment, let me find my note, please. So, what's in my staff report? It is a recreation space, an active recreation space for residents of the project.
Okay.
The specific sort of landscaping plans were approved with the PUD, but I do have a description of what would be included here. So it would be an active recreation area with bocce ball, pickleball courts, a covered picnic area, and it would be 21,384 square feet.
And it was covered through the PUD.
That's right.
Then I had one other question. So this, the general plan amendment that the city's going to initiate, they can't file their map until the city finishes that. So they need to keep track of what the city's doing to make sure that it doesn't expire again. Am I right?
Yes, and we have closely coordinated that with the applicant.
So they're going to get 2 years, and then they'll be able to get 3 one-year extensions?
For the tentative track map, it's a 2-year approval with one-year extension.
Okay. And they need to closely watch that so that they don't have to go through this again.
I anticipate that they will be processing that final map as soon as they can after the general plan land use map is approved.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that they were aware that they need to watch that, and they have 3 years.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Lee?
First of all, I just wanted to thank you because in the staff report you included some information about the RENA numbers and the where this particular parcel was in the inventory. So that was really helpful. I hope we can do that in the future too. So these 120 units will go to the above moderate income heading. And I think we're in the housing element, it was about 2,000 units that we needed.
Total, I believe so.
Okay.
I do just want to clarify, it'll be 110 single-family dwellings plus 110 accessory dwelling units.
Oh,
So
110 then,
it was
yeah.
120 in the inventory, but this will actually exceed that when you include the accessory dwelling units.
Does that count towards our inventory?
It does.
Oh, okay. So the ADUs finally count for something. Good. I did wonder, and I didn't say anything in the original presentation last September, and I don't see anything different now, but none of these items or none of these properties will be deed restricted for lower income band.
No.
Okay. And then to the director's amendment. So I think I followed it, but I want to make sure because it sounded like we could get to a position where we keep getting some reason to continue past the 30th, 41st, and up to 110th, theoretically, where we wouldn't have satisfied that requirement. Is that the case?
There's always the potential, but we do have securities to make sure it gets done. So they'll have to post bonds and/or cash
okay.
securities for that.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Is there any penalty if they don't?
It would be the same protection as what a homeowner would receive if they're the first ones to buy in there and they bought in the middle of the development to protect them from getting out. We would
Right.
be protecting a homeowner with that same kind of bonding.
Okay, all right. But overall, we will still fulfill the undergrounding principle for Ramon. We'll be getting rid of those visible wires.
Yes, and to your statement, if things took long and this thing really took off, we could be in after the fact, but we'll have securities to make sure that it gets completed.
All right, as long as it gets done, that's good.
Correct.
Yep, thank you. So.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? No? Okay. I'll open up public comments for this item. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard on this matter?
Do we have anyone wishing to speak? We have no one wishing to speak in the audience.
All right. If there's no further public comment, I'll close public comments, and I'll ask for a motion from the commissioners to open discussion. You know you want to.
I'll move it. There you go. I just need to find it in the
You got
report.
it. There.
So. Oh, there we go, yeah. New system. So. Okay. So I would move that the Planning Commission find in accordance with CEQA Guideline 15162, no additional CEQA review is required for this project as there is no substantial evidence in the record that this project would require major revisions to the mitigated negative declaration due to the involvement of new significant environmental effects or a substantial increase in the severity of previously identified significant effects. And that we approve the tentative tract map number 37755, subject to the attached conditions of approval based on the findings contained in the staff report and with the addition of the condition 425 as discussed in this meeting.
I'll second that. A little discussion before we proceed. I just want to note that I've been around long enough, at least, to have been here to vote on the initial extension. I would love to see this project get started and underway. So that's my words of encouragement.
Okay. Let the record show a motion was made by Commissioner Lee and seconded by Chair Daly. Motion passes with all ayes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 4B, which is not correct on here, excuse me. Yes, item 4B, PUD 23-002.
Good evening, Chair. So I'll lead off the comments on this one. The applicant is requesting a continuance of this item to the July 17th meeting, as we do have a significant number of members of the public here tonight. It is my suggestion to the Commission that you open the public hearing, take public comment tonight, and if you're obliging the applicant's request, to continue it then to the July 17th meeting.
Did you say July 17th or 7th?
17th.
Okay, thank you. That's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to open up this matter for public comment. I understand that there are several people who wish to be heard on this matter. I have some speaker slips with me and a request to go first from Rich Gordon from Palm Springs.
Chair Daly and Commissioners, good evening. My name is Rich Gordon. My address is 1143 Celadon Street in Palm Springs. I'm currently the president of the Ascena Homeowners Association, and this proposed planned unit development would become a part of our community. We are currently at 542 homeowners in our association and in our community. This would add another 102 units to our community. What I wanted you to know is that as a homeowner association, we support the proposal from EMP1 to develop this as a planned unit development. And we also are very supportive of the staff recommendation that before moving forward, that these two tracks be annexed into our community so they can be fully a part of our association. And that for this specific area, that a sub-association or a neighborhood association also be formed. Those are two conditions your staff has recommended, and we support those as well as the recommendation for the planned unit development. You may hear tonight from other members of our community who may have more specific issues that they're concerned about, but please be assured that the Homeowners Association, representing the 542 homeowners in our community, welcome the addition of this Cathedral City component into our community. And with that, I want to thank you for hearing us tonight, and I also want to specifically thank the staff for the courtesy and communication that they have extended to us as non-residents of Cathedral City, but as folks who will become partners, we hope, with Cathedral City in this development called Ascena. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next, Kathy Wermink.
Chair Daly, Vice Chair Malikoff, and Commissioner Lee. My name is Kathy Wermick. I live at 699 Wilson Lane, which is adjacent to the proposed SunCal project. I'm here tonight with a group of fellow residents for whom I am speaking, and I would like to ask them to stand. I just want you to know that that what I'm saying is supported First of all, I'd just like to thank you for your service. I share that service with you in the city of Palm Springs, where I am a planning commissioner, and I know all the work and all that is required of you, so thank you. We strongly support the proposed PUD. We believe that the development of these two properties will benefit both our Ascena neighborhood and our neighbors in the Dream Home community in Cathedral City. We do, however, have some concerns that we hope can be addressed by you tonight regarding construction standards, security, and design that arise because the majority of the project is in Palm Springs and the parcels are in Cathedral City. We hope that if there are areas that are not directly in your purview, your planning director can work with our planning director to help find solutions. The areas, and there will be other people chatting more extensively, include first, the Ascena design guidelines. The proposed project does not meet the design guidelines. However, all of the 500 and some units in Ascena do meet those guidelines. We don't want these new homes to not fit into our community and to create two classes of houses, and especially two classes of residents between owners and renters. We want it to look as good as our community looks. On security, we have concerns about emergency access. We hope that it will at least go through the emergency areas in Cathedral City as well as our roads. And you will hear one small safety concern about a portion of the proposed trail system in between the houses and the outer wall because we have intruders that have been in our community as recently as 2 weeks ago, and we don't want them walking behind people's houses and scaring them. We would like to see construction rules regarding a trucking plan, a road restoration plan for our roads, dust mitigation plan, hours of operations, and a drainage plan. Not having some of these things because the trucking will go over the Ascena roads and they aren't in Cathedral City. Again, I think that requires some coordination between the cities. We're concerned about access and egress along Clubhouse View Road from Vistacino to our gates and then through to the project. This road is entirely, the portion of it is in the control of SunCal as the master developer of Ascena, but not under your purview, but it still impacts us. And then I think that probably covers, the only other thing is a drainage plan. I think it drains into our community. So thank you so much tonight for hearing us. You will hear a few other people talking details. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Bigby?
Good evening. My name's Connie Bigby. I live at 4974 Davidson Way, Palm Springs. I've been part of Ascena for 14 and a half years, pretty much since it got started. I'd like to thank Kathy for making her presentation and let you know that I am in complete agreement with everything she has said. What I want to talk about is that we've been told the homes proposed by the developer are for these two tracts are going to be corporately owned homes that they rent. I would like to see them sell these homes instead, and here's why. Home ownership has been the backbone of our economy for decades. It is literally part of the American dream. This developer undoubtedly wants to pursue this model for the generous tax benefits it affords. Now, I'm all for a company making a profit. After all, our economy is built on that principle also. But this concept of corporate ownership does so at a great expense for the rest of us. First, there would be 52 fewer homes available to buy at a time when housing inventory in our area has been at historic lows for the past 3 years. In addition, the city would miss out on tax revenue that would have come from transactions between buyers and sellers. If the developer simply sold these homes, I'm sure they would still make a nice profit. With the proposed homes all having attached ADUs, there is a unique opportunity for an individual to buy a home and mitigate a significant portion of his or her housing expense with rental income from the ADU. This is how families can build generational wealth, and isn't that what you want for the residents of Cathedral City? Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Waterhouse?
Hi, I'm Debbie Waterhouse. I'm at 4304 Arcata Street in Palm Springs, part of the Ascena community. And I am part of the Security and Safety Committee. And that's why I'm speaking on behalf of the residents. Kathy pretty much wrapped up what my concerns are, or all of our concerns are about the emergency egress. My understanding is that there's going to be one emergency access, and we're wondering or asking about if there are going to be strobe lights, or if there's how that's going to work. How long are they going to remain open? So those kinds of questions. But one of the most important questions is security, as Kathy alluded to. As with every community, we've had a lot of, not a lot, but a good amount of theft of people coming over into our community. So with the trails that are being planned, I think one of the questions is, how will security work there? Will there be cameras in those areas? That's the main concern about how we're going to make sure that we don't have people coming through into that neighborhood, into the entire Ascena neighborhood. That's it. Thank you.
Audrey Joseph?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Audrey Joseph. I live at 4250 Sodeo Court in Ascena. I have a couple of things I want to talk about. With these 52 new homes and the adjacent ADUs, we expect there'll be 200 extra cars on our streets. As it is, this project is located on Clubhouse View, and it's more than likely that they're going to use the gate that's on Clubhouse View that leads to Vistacino. Kathy spoke a little bit about the light. The light at Vistacino, we would like the developer to talk to the city of Palm Springs about extending the length of the light that is facing Clubhouse View. Vistacino gets the maximum amount of traffic. It gets the longest light. We're lucky if we can get 1 or 2 cars out. With 200 extra cars using that exit, cars are going to be lined up into the community trying to get out. And so that was one thing. Also, the gate. The gates very often are in disrepair. The gates are owned by SunCal. It's very difficult. Sometimes they don't open. We use the out gate to go in. We would like to make sure that they maintain those gates, that they remain open. And lastly, in looking at their map of what they're going to build, I noticed that there is no real dividers between the homes, the backyards. Backyards are small. I own a dog. There are lots of dogs in Ascena, and if you wanted to go out in your backyard and let your dog out, there's no safety. This is being developed on land that is previously rabbits and coyotes. We have coyotes in our community, and I have a friend in an adjacent community who lost a dog to a coyote. So there is no safe place for people to let their dogs in their backyard. So having some kind of wall, fence, something a little more secure in the backyards, because the other thing is those trails go behind those backyards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mark Gilbert?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. My name is Mark Gilbert, and my husband and I have lived in Ascena in Palm Springs since 2013. We are proud to be some of Palm Springs' closest neighborhoods to Cathedral City, and I thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening on item 4B. In addition to being a resident of Ascena, I also serve on our HOA's Design Review Committee. Our committee is charged with ensuring proposed alterations in Ascena are compatible with the community to maintain the architectural character and preserve its integrity and appearance. I'm here tonight to say that I support the approval of the PUD, but have concerns about the proposed dwelling designs. Based on my experience with the color palettes in Ascena, I believe the proposed color schemes for this project are bland and not at all harmonious with our existing color schemes. The variety of accent colors and their placement on each dwelling is limited and unoriginal in comparison to the array of accent colors used in other phases of Ascena. To me, the designs of these homes feel flat and two-dimensional without any architectural flair in roof lines. There is little to no projection over windows, which would provide the much-needed protection from our hot summer sun. The proposed patio areas behind each dwelling appear to have no protection from sun whatsoever. The international style was one of several architectural styles that inspired the original design of Ascena, and the name appears on the plans before you. However, I don't see large ribbons of glazing or large floor-to-ceiling plate glass windows and no cantilever projections that are typical of this style. What I see are collections of small square windows that will offer little in the way of natural light. The final designs for this project have far-reaching impacts. Not only will they impact me and my neighbors, but they will also impact the residents who will live in them, as well as the residents of Dream Homes to the south. I support City staff's recommendation to approve this PUD. However, I urge you to consider the concerns expressed here tonight by me and my fellow neighbors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the speaker slips I have. Is there anybody else who would like to be heard on this topic?
Do we have anyone else wishing to speak in the audience? We have no other audience members wishing to speak.
There were 4 folks that wrote in. Do we want to have that read into the record, or?
So just because this item is being continued, we're not going to read them each, but they will be included in the packet for the next meeting as well. So it is public record that is available.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that then, I will close public comments. Thank you, everybody. I do have a question for staff, actually. Is everything okay?
It was a question from Ms. Molina on whether we needed to leave the public comment open since we're continuing the hearing.
At this point, we can close the public comment. We'll reopen at the next public hearing.
So my question is, to your knowledge, is the developer in communication with anybody or a representative from Ascena?
So the applicant is not here tonight, and I don't want to represent his direct communications with Ascena.
Okay. You have a question for staff?
My question's on a completely different subject that hasn't been brought up. Did the original approval from the Airport Land Use Commission for Ascena, did that cover this? Or do they will this need separate approval, or was that part of the original approval?
On the RALUC approval, I don't see it changing.
We'll have to go back and look at the initial study that was done for the project, and then we can answer that in the subsequent packet.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, I'm going to move that we continue this matter to the July 17th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting.
A second.
Okay. Okay. Let the record show a motion was made by Chair Daley, seconded by Commissioner Lee, to continue item 4B, PUD number 23002, to the July 17th Planning Commission meeting date.
All right, thank you. All right. We're going to move on to new item 4, old item 3, the non-public hearing item. Item 3A, conditional use permit number 98-243A.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. Manuel Rocha, Assistant Planner here at the City of Cathedral City. Today I bring before you conditional use permit number 98243A, which is a request to remove condition of approval number 21 established for conditional use permit 98243. CUP 98243 was approved on September 2nd, 1998, permitting the construction of an automobile fueling station, which also includes compressed natural gas. Condition of approval number 21 of CUP 98243 states that the project is required to have CNG fueling capabilities available to the public, and failure to do so for more than 30 days may result in revocation of the conditional use permit. The Planning Commission holds authority to convene a revocation hearing. The applicant is requesting to remove the condition of approval as he is proposing to remove the CNG fueling facility and replace it with biodiesel and E85 fueling. I'd like to note that the amendment is for the removal of the condition of approval and not for the replacement of the CNG fueling facility, which will be reviewed administratively. The property is located at 36001 Date Palm Drive. The property is on plan community commercial. Here you will see the area, there'll be there's an arrow pointing at the CNG fueling facility. CNG is not widely used today as it was during the project approval in 1998. Biodiesel and E85 vehicles are more commonly seen today. As a result, staff recommends that the Planning Commission find that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to section number 15061, section B3 of the state CEQA guidelines. Staff also recommends that the Planning Commission approve conditional use permit number 98243A based on the findings contained in the staff report.
Thank you. Okay, so they want to get rid of the CNG fueling stuff and replace it with
E85 and biodiesel.
Okay. To your knowledge, have they been providing CNG fueling capabilities for the past 30 days? Or are they technically already in breach of 21?
They're technically already in breach.
Okay, I would figure. So, is this putting the cart before the horse? Like, should they replace, and I don't know how much we care, but I mean, should they replace the CNG stuff with the E85, with the equipment required for E85, and then we remove this provision, or?
So this is an interesting item, and I think this is an interesting item in the sense of how the original conditions of approval were phrased. We really bound the applicant back in 1998 to provide that CNG, and we put a pretty good stick in the conditions of approval that if they were to make a change, that we could come back and revoke the CUP. And I think as staff looked at this, we looked for a way to do this administratively, to do this without coming back before the Planning Commission, because I think what the applicant is requesting is common sense. The market has changed. There's not a demand for CNG. Our City Public Works no longer needs this. That was what originally compelled this condition. So I think staff was looking for a reasonable common sense solution. We exhausted our administrative abilities and realized that we couldn't do that without coming back to strike the condition of approval. So I think what the staff planner has done is articulated a little bit of what the applicant's intent is. Yes, they've already taken some steps to remove the CNG, but I think here we're just trying to get out of the way, so to speak, and to strike the condition to enable the applicant to make a business decision.
So we're not going to replace, condition of approval number 21 with something regarding biofuel, right?
No.
Okay. So it doesn't, functionally, if in the end the applicant simply didn't put anything there, that wouldn't even be a big deal.
Correct.
Okay.
Or if the technology changes in 10 years, to be able to put something else there and be able to do it administratively, because condition 21 won't handcuff them.
Absolutely. I mean, I have no problem, removing said handcuffs. I just, if the idea is that there be no additional handcuffs afterwards, I'm going to beat that metaphor to death, then yeah, I suppose that's fine. All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? Questions for staff?
Quick
About
ones.
handcuffs?
Yeah, mostly about handcuffs, but otherwise. I got from the staff report that the CNG stuff's gone anyway. So we're asking for forgiveness, not permission here. So that's fine. I have no problem with that. I wondered in terms of adding the biodiesel, and you already said that will be administered anyway, but is that going to require new tanks to be inserted underground?
Yes, but it will require, and that will be handled through the Building and Safety Department with the construction permit.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right. Yeah, all right. The other thing I just wanted to say is I truly admire the Planning Commission from 1998 because, the city didn't have anywhere to get CNG, so they said, if you want a gas station, you're going to give us the CNG, which is, we need to take some lessons from this. All right, no more questions. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions was the applicant present?
Yes.
Any questions for the applicant? Sir? Commissioner Lee?
Only one, I probably know the answer already, but...
Hold on. Do you mind coming up?
It's such a quick question.
I know, but let's do it.
All right.
If you could please state your name and city of residence, we'd appreciate it.
My name is Craig Roberts. I'm with Carbon Tech Engineering, and I live in Riverside. You want the address?
No, that's quite
Okay.
all right. Thank you.
Really just following up from my colleague's question or statement about future technologies, I'm wondering, do you also have any plans, in addition to biodiesel, to add any electric charging facilities?
We could, yeah, I think that's a good idea. We don't have any plans now.
I like that answer better than the no that I was expecting, so that's good. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
At this time, I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the state CEQA guidelines, and that we approve conditional use permit 98-243A, an amendment to the original CUP to remove condition of approval number 21 based on the findings in the staff report.
I'll second.
Let the record show a motion was made by Vice Chair Malakoff, seconded by Commissioner Lee, to approve conditional item 3A. Motion passes with all ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 5. Yes, thank you, sir. Item 5, discussion of future agenda items. Would anybody like to discuss future agenda items? No? All right.
I do have one, Chair, actually. Just to let the commission know, our first meeting in July, we will be electing a new chair and vice chair.
Oh, that's
I know.
exciting.
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, got nervous. All right, item 6, commissioner reports. Definitely should be comments, but that's none of my business. I just want to thank everybody. This was actually kind of a funky meeting, and we got through it. And the tech worked, so I'm really pleased. Any other comments from the commissioners?
I just want to note, and I guess, question, are we going to have any more meetings this month?
Not this month. We potentially may have a meeting on July 3rd, although we recognize it's July 3rd, so I think staff will be evaluating that, whether logistically we want to do that. And then the meeting after that would be July 17th.
So in that case, I'd just like to thank our 2 departing colleagues for their service, because this will, or would have been, their last meeting.
Yes.
And I guess it's definitely empty chairs time. So
Did they skip the last day of school? Seriously?
they did. They both did.
That's
So,
unbelievable.
I'll let you know.
regardless of that little issue, I really thank them for their leadership and for certainly teaching me a lot as I came onto this commission. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe they joined the commission in the 1800s, and
1803.
1803. 1803, and when I joined the commission in 2020, I had one meeting in person, and then we went to Zoom, so that was great. And they were both obviously on the commission at that time, and were wonderful. And if I'm doing even a half-decent job, it is entirely everything I learned from them. So love those two. Sorry they couldn't be here today. All right, city attorney. I'm sorry. Yes, city attorney report. Comments.
No comments tonight, thank you.
And item 8, staff comments.
None this evening.
No? Okay. Well then, in that case, we will adjourn at 7:02 p.m. Thank you.